Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the Little Home Podcast. My name's Bex. I'm coming to you from Victoria in Australia from a very, very, very cold and rainy summer day. We've had a lot of rain the last couple of days, and as some of you might know, I'm working the cherry harvest and there's been a lot of damage, so it's been quite dramatic. But when I come home and I forget about what it's doing to the cherries, it's just beautiful because the garden is so green and lush and rainforesty. And yeah, it's wonderful to be with you. I've got lots to chat about today, lots of finished objects and acquisitions and works in progress. And yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you're having a lovely week, enjoying the first couple of days of December. And yeah, I'm so happy to be with you. All right. Today I'm drinking some lovely decaf soy coffee in here, in this beautiful little mug that my mum gave me. And I love the colours on this mug, they're just gorgeous. It's actually a commercial mug. We picked it up in Waitrose when we were shopping together when I was back in England. But I just loved it. I love how rustic it looks and the colours are beautiful. So, where do I start? I have got 4 finished objects, which is pretty mad. And if we're going to go into the details, technically it is 7 finished objects, but you'll see why in a minute. And yeah, it's been so amazing just to see how, even though my time is just so taken up by earning money at the moment, it's wonderful to see how, if I prioritise it, I really can put time aside for creating. Anyone who follows me on Instagram will see that I've been doing a lot of car knitting, waiting in the morning and in the evening for my partner to finish work, as he finishes after I do. So lots and lots of car knitting. So I will start off with these beautiful colourwork mittens, and I'm calling them a finished object, but I haven't yet woven in the ends, but I will do that today. So technically I'm going to call them a finished object. But these beautiful, beautiful mittens are the Underwing mittens, and I'm completely blanking suddenly on the name of the designer, but I'll write it on the screen below. This was such a wonderful project. I just couldn't stop on these guys. I think I finished them in a couple of days. As you can see, they have this beautiful moth detail, and I decided to create the moth just in the 2 colours instead of the 3 that was recommended. And I chose to make these, so these points here would have been a different colour, and I chose to make them in the contrast colour, which for me is this beautiful Jamesons of Shetland. I think it's their oyster colourway, which is this really gorgeous kind of teal pink. I don't know if you can see the colour in there, but there's so many different tones. And so yeah, basically it's a blue grey, which is this one here. It's very much halfway between blue and grey. I really can't distinguish which. And then this gorgeous kind of salmony pinky tone. I think that both of them are Shetland wool. The blue grey I think is hand spun from my mum's stash that I picked up the last time I was in the UK. It feels very much like Shetland, and it's a different spin to it's like a different ply, sorry, to the Jamesons of Shetland. It's slightly more tightly spun. Oh, I don't know what the words are. I have done a little bit of spinning, but not very much. But it just looks a little bit different. I don't know if you can see there. So I know it's not Jamesons of Shetland, but I have a feeling it's my mum's hand spun because she used to spin fleeces. So it was beautiful to work with. Both of these yarns are amazing for colour work. They're so kind of tacky, like sticky almost, that they just create a really, really beautiful fabric once worked up. And just because I love the inside of colour work projects, I'm going to show you what the inside looks like. I love all the floats and how they come together. And this was a really, really wonderful project for me to just practice my colour work. I've only ever done a couple of other colourwork projects. I think the first one was the Sista Claudia cowl by, I can't remember the name of the designer, I'll write it down here. And that was a sample knit for Morris & Sons, which is a wool shop I used to work at. And that was a really good first colourwork project, just because I didn't really need to catch any floats at the back. And I taught myself how to continental knit whilst doing English knitting with the other colour. So, and then the second project was my Stasis pullover, which has little bits of colourwork in the yoke and also the arms, like the sleeves, and the hem as well, actually. So this was my third, I think, and I'm so happy with how it came out. I think I was really careful to not over tighten on the contrast colour, and I think that really worked well. And this is the second mitt, and I think they're pretty similar in tension, which is great news. I'm so happy with how they came out. They're just beautiful. I love this pattern so much. And the designer's just a whiz. She's got some gorgeous patterns. So I'll show you how these look. I can't wait for it to be cold enough to wear them. It's kind of almost cold enough to wear them today, which is mad because I think it's the second day of summer. So this is how they look. I ended up putting a few more rows of rib on the finger section here, but yeah, they're so beautiful and very malleable when blocking, actually, so I could really play with them and get the right shape. So I actually extended out the cuffs a little bit and kind of stretched them a little bit vertically because they were a little bit big. One of the comments that a lot of people have made with this pattern is that they do come out a little bit large. I think everybody's hands are so different. My hands are on I guess the larger size in width-wise, and my wrists as well. But I did these on a 2.5mm needle because I didn't have any 2.25s at the time, and they came out fine. I just stretched them slightly more lengthways as I was blocking them, and they fit beautifully. There's a little bit of kind of room in there, but that's actually really nice to have. They don't feel constrictive at all. And they were going to be so toasty for the autumn and winter time here. Very beautiful. I just love this detailing. And I love the moons on the cuff. Actually, I just love everything about them. This was such a funny thing because I knit these because I saw... oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Nicole of the Gentle Knitter podcast, who was making them in her last podcast, and I cast them on straight away. I literally went to my little stash of random bits and pieces and found these colours and cast them on, I think, within about an hour of watching her podcast. And then I realised that pretty much everyone had done the same, whether or not Nicole had done it with another podcaster or what. It was very funny because suddenly they were exploding everywhere, and I'm so happy because the designer deserves all of the casheroonies from her sales because they are just beautiful. I love them and I want to make more. She's got some really gorgeous, I think, dragonfly ones and some elephant ones as well, which are awesome. But yeah, I think these ones are my favourite. I love them. And I've seen somebody who's actually made this design into the yoke of a colourwork sweater, and that just sounds magical. So, Jamieson's of Shetland and Shetland wool in general. I made a featherweight cardigan out of the oyster colourway, which is this pinky toned one here, kind of pinky neutral, and I found it so scratchy when I was wearing it against my skin. I have a feeling that I didn't block it. I think I just wet it and then laid it flat. And these softened up so much by just letting them rest in a little bit of... I popped a little bit of like lavender wool wash in the sink and just let them soak for about 20 minutes. And the difference in texture of this wool is quite amazing. It's not soft by any means. Like, it's still a Shetland wool. It's definitely rustic and woolly, but it worked out so beautifully, and I can wear these very comfortably against my hands at least. So I'm really intrigued to have a little play with some more Shetland wool in the future, maybe in a garment or something, and just see what I think about that. But yeah, I'm so happy with these Underwing mitts. And they are my first finished object, or 2 finished objects. Oh, sorry if I'm a bit sniffy, I've got my sinuses are playing up really badly. It sounds like I have a cold, but I actually don't, it's just my silly sinuses. So the second lot of, well, it's kind of like a set, I guess, so I'm going to talk about them together. But the first one is a Bankhead hat, which is for my dad. I was trying to decide whether or not to give this to my dad or my granddad, but as soon as I made it, I just realised it would work so well for my dad. This hat pattern is fantastic. It is, I think it's a paid for pattern. I've made one in this wool before for my stepdad, which is quite funny because I don't know if they will know that they will be matching, which is a bit of a laugh. But yeah, the Bankhead hat's a fantastic men's or kind of unisex pattern. It's really quite simple and understated. It's got a twisted rib just here, well, a half twisted rib actually. The inside's not twisted. So it's got a half twisted rib, and then it has this really wonderful kind of broken rib patterning here that creates a really lovely texture that's just not too in your face. My dad's not the kind, I mean, he's a bit of a hippie, but he's not the kind of bloke who would wear like colour work, or I don't think anyway, it would be a little bit over his comfort zone. But yeah, so this wool is Bendigo Woolen Mills in their, I think they're rustic 8-ply, and I used a 4mm needle for this one. And I just, I always reduce the total length of the pattern that they call for. They say for the men's extra large, which is what, or the adults extra large, sorry, which is what this is, they say to do 9 inches, I think. And I'll pop this on. I'm going to mess up my hair, but who cares? If you can see, this is plenty long enough. It really does go down, kind of halfway down my neck. And it fits really nicely, but I would say that it would be quite a slouchy hat if you were going to do it to 9 inches. So yeah, I would recommend stopping at 8 unless you wanted a slouchy hat. I also, one of the other changes that I made is I got really bored with the twisted rib, so I just stopped at this point instead of going for 3 inches or whatever it is in the pattern, and just started the main body kind of repeat earlier on, which is super easy to do within the pattern notes. And it's got a really lovely decrease in pattern just here, and yeah, that's my dad's Christmas, well, part of my dad's Christmas prezi. So I think he'll really like that. It's in this beautiful kind of almost grey brown. It's a natural sheepy colour. It's undyed, and it's very like woolly and unprocessed, which is wonderful. This is actually a really lovely wool from Bendigo. A lot of the Bendigo wools I don't find so exciting anymore. They're a really reasonable price, but I feel like sometimes they're quite heavily processed. But I do really like the rustic wool that they do have in sometimes. So yeah, one of these. And then with the leftover wool, so this was a 200 gram ball, and within that 200 gram ball, which I think was about $13 or $14, I managed to get one Bankhead hat last Christmas for my stepdad, and then the leftovers I got another Bankhead hat and these little mitts, little fingerless mitts, and I just made this pattern up. I've made quite a few kind of fingerless mitts before, so I have an idea of how the gusset shaping works and stuff. And I might well do a little, I'll either design something a bit more interesting and do it as a paid for pattern, or I'll just do a free pattern for these guys, because they are a great unisex or men's Christmas knit. And I knit these up in, I think, 2.5 hours for the pair. So these took around, what was it? I think I had 45 grams of 8-ply wool left or something like that. and I got a pair of mitts, and I'll show you how they fit. They're a little bit big on me, but that will mean that they're perfect for my dad, hopefully. So these are the mitts. They have a really simple, just cast off thumb, a load of 2x2 rib here, and then moving into the gusset increases, and then a little bit for the fingers just to almost just where the knuckle is, and then some 2x2 rib again. And these are really great stash buster. I'm really, really happy with these. And they blocked out really nicely as well. I just gave them a little bit of a steam on the iron. And there's lots of nice space in the thumb as well, because men have got bigger hands than women do quite often. So yeah, that's my dad's Christmassy knit. They will be being sent off to him tomorrow. And they look like a really lovely little set. I'm very happy with how they came out. And I'm happy with how the 2x2 rib kind of works really nicely with the Bankhead pattern. So yes. So the final pair of finished objects is a pair of socks. And these socks are super, super exciting because they are nearly going to be released. I'm just waiting for some test knitters to come back with their notes. Design by me. These are the new growth socks, and I completed my pair and blocked them, and I am so happy with this design, I can't tell you. They blocked out beautifully. The wool that I used for this design is Mrs. Click Clack Merry Creek sock, and she's a Melbourne-based indie dyer. This is a superwash merino nylon blend, and it's very soft and luxurious and gorgeous. And yeah, I'll pop one of these on a sock blocker so you can see, but I'm so happy with how these came out. Can you tell that I really do need to weave in some ends today? So these are a toe-up sock design. I do all of my sock knitting toe-up. It's just the way that I learnt toe-up magic loop. I knit these on a 2.5mm needle, Knit Pro Novas, and they have this beautiful 4-row lace repeat that's so easy to memorise. You really probably will need to check the rows maybe twice in the whole foot section. So it's a beautiful, beautiful knit for when you're watching podcasts or commuting or anything like that. And for me, sock designs need to be like that. I never finish a pair of socks that are too detailed. For me, sock knitting is relaxation time, and I don't want to have to be looking at a charted pattern over and over and over again. It's just not what I'm after. So this pattern is for all you folks who are the same about sock knitting as me. So compared to my other sock patterns that I've released, I feel like these ones, I don't know, for my foot anyway, I found that in a short row heel doesn't stay up in the same way that a wedge heel like this does. And I'd never really found a good solution for a toe-up version of this. But I came up with this beautiful, beautiful heel. And it's just a traditional slip stitch heel, which gives it a lot of, it kind of brings it in at the Achilles, which kind of helps with the fit, but it also is almost double thickness, which is great because this is one of the main wearing points on socks. And one of the things that I wanted to do with the new growth socks is to really prioritize fit and longevity, and it goes with my whole moving more towards a kind of capsule style wardrobe and real emphasis on quality of materials, but also just making things that will last and be worn and worn and worn and enjoyed. So this is a surprisingly simple heel. It's not a fish lips kiss heel where you can memorize it on the first go and you're good to go. This one, you'll have to have a little look at the pattern notes, but they're very detailed and very easy to follow. And the result I find is just wonderful. So I'm really, really happy with this pattern. I cannot wait to share it with you guys. I've had a lot of really positive feedback from the test knitters. They're so super happy with how it's looking for them as well. So I can't wait to share this one with you guys. And yeah, this is the new growth socks. In all their glory. And I can't wait to take pictures so I can wear them. And those are all my finished objects for this week. My little stack of lovelies. I love all these colours together. Aren't they amazing? Browns and greys and pinks. Neutral heaven. So I've got some works in progress to share with you folks, and then I've got some acquisitions, quite a few acquisitions actually. So I will start off with this one here, which is just in my little boutique bag that I made. It's a nice soft bag, so it really kind of scrunches up in my little wicker bag that I carry around with me everywhere, and it's got a cotton lining on the inside. And I am working on a second pair of new growth socks, just because I wanted to have a little try out with my new, with a different colour and also some new needles. So I have picked up a pair of Chow lace needles, and I am in love. They are incredible. I want to switch all of my needles over to Chow lace now, which is annoying. But yes, so for anyone who hasn't tried Chow needles, in particular the Chow lace, I think it's mainly the lace ones that I think I'd love. Not only is the connection between the cable and the needle really, really smooth, like incredibly smooth. I've never had a needle where that connector is that smooth. The needle is quite tapered as well, which is quite different to other needles. And also they're light, almost like the higher needles are, where they feel like they might be hollow on the inside, which is quite different to the Knit Pro Novas. I used higher like the traditional, not the sharps, and higher and Knit Pro Novas. These ones also have a little bit of a texture on the needle, which gives it a tiny bit more grip, and that's actually really, really wonderful for sock knitting. And I imagine that's the lace side of things as well, so it just has a little bit more grip than your average kind of steel needle. The thing that really makes a difference for me with these needles is the cable. It has no memory, like it just hangs there. Whereas if these were my Knit Pros, they really, really hold, like the twists. And when you're doing magic loop, you really don't want that memory. It really gets in the way. And if you can see, this just kind of hangs there. It makes magic loop knitting so much easier. So they only had these in a 2.25 when I was ordering them, so I picked one up just to see what I thought. But I will actually, I think I'm going to go back and, as my Christmas prezi, pick myself up some 2.5s and also maybe some 3.25, 3.5 and 3.75, because I usually use full ply wool, which is like a fingering weight if you're American. And yeah, I just want them in every size. So these are my second pair of new growth socks. I am using a 2.25mm needle, which is creating a lot tighter gauge. I've tried them on and they fit really snugly but nicely. Because of the gauge difference, I'm knitting the equivalent of a 41 size, so the large in the pattern, whereas normally I would be knitting the medium size, and that's working out really, really well. The wool that I'm using is West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply, and this is their cinnamon stick colourway. which is really funny. It was a completely different colour on, I bought it from Love Knitting. It was a completely different colour. It was so much darker than this, and usually my monitor's pretty good with colours, but I love this colour actually more than the one that I was expecting to get. And it's a really muted kind of browny pink colour. The weather's a bit funny today, so I don't know how well you're going to be picking up this colour. But it's a gorgeous, gorgeous tone of kind of browny, beigey pink, I guess you would describe it as. One of my favourite colours, and it's just glorious. So at the moment I'm just working on the gusset increases to start the heel, and it's coming along beautifully. So yep, second pair of new growth socks. Yeah, and I love this wool. It's beautiful. It's very it's a lot more woolly and rustic than I'm used to. I realised afterwards that it's got 35% Blueface Leicester in it, and that really makes quite a difference actually. It has a feeling almost of a German sock wool, like it's going to last really, really well, which is great. It's not as soft. If you're used to like superwash merino nylon blends, it won't be the same softness as what you're used to. I had a friend of mine on Instagram saying that she couldn't actually wear her socks because they were too itchy, and for me that this would be completely fine, but I can understand why she would have that problem as well, especially if you're used to like really soft merino socks. But I think these will last really, really well, so I'm excited to get to wear these guys. My next work in progress is living in here in my beautiful bag by my friend Emily of the Maker yarn store in Brunswick, Melbourne. And this is Rifle Paper Co. linen, and with a really hot pink lining, and I love this bag so much. And I am working on the Audrey in Unst, which is a pattern by Gudren Johnson. It's quite a vintage style cardigan, and it is not a raglan. It's a set-in sleeve, but you're picking up for the sleeve cap and knitting down, so there's not seaming. And I am knitting this in a cotton, and I've made a little bit of progress since we last chatted. I haven't been putting a ton of time into this one. The fabric, or the cotton that I'm using, is 100% Pima cotton by Cascade. It's their Ultra Pima, which is their 8-ply. I'm using it like a sport weight, so a 6-ply, and it's creating a really beautiful fabric. So if it is an 8-ply, it's a very small 8-ply. And the colour is 3792, which is this glorious Beck's colour, a kind of dusty, antique-y pink. I love it. I have a lipstick which is called Better Than, what is it called? Oh, Your Lips But Better, and this colour really reminds me of that lipstick, and I gravitate towards this colour all the time. It's a really, really beautiful, rich, kind of pinky cranberry tone. And this is how far I've got. So I'm working from the bottom up. I'm making quite a few changes to the pattern just because I want it to be more starting on my waistline, basically. So it's got these wonderful kind of faux seams just here, and lots of twisted rib. And you can see how the fabric's knitting up. It's just beautiful. I love it. I think it's going to be a really gorgeous finished garment. And yes, so I don't know if you can see here, but the pattern comes down, I'd say below the model's belly button. It kind of, her natural waist would be around about here, I would say. And I am starting on my natural waist just because I want to wear this with quite full linen dresses, which is my kind of staple wardrobe. And I think this would just look a little bit bunchy underneath if it was too down towards my hip. So I am adjusting the pattern a little bit, starting a bit further up, and it's working out really, really well. I'm so happy with the fabric that it's creating. I think it's just going to be glorious. It's really sturdy, which is great. I went down a needle size. I'm using, I think, 3.25mm needles. Let me see what they suggest. Yeah, she suggests a 3.5, and I think I'm using a 3.25. And the fabric that it's creating is really, really wonderful. Cotton has a tendency of stretching out in length and kind of dropping because it's quite heavy. And because of the tighter tension, I think this will work really, really beautiful because there's a little bit of stretch, but it's really not much. It's quite sturdy fabric. So I'm very, very happy with that. This is the beginning of my first, well, this is what's left of my first ball, and I've got 3 balls left. So I haven't put a ton of time into that, but I'm really excited by it, and I want to, once I finish my gift knitting, I'm going to put some more work into that. And I think my final work in progress is this gloriousness, which is my Cozy Memories blanket. And I started this probably a couple of months ago now, maybe 6 weeks ago, and I've made some really good progress on it. I basically went through my stash of leftover yarns and I found every colour that just made me happy, and I am really gravitating towards dusty tones and neutrals and earthy tones, and this basket just is heaven to me. There's some kind of almost raspberry pinks, and then some muted nudes, and some greys, and some creams, and some browns, and purples, and little bits and pieces in there left over from socks. And it's wonderful to really just see, like, this is my palette, basically. Add in a few more kind of greens in there, and it really would be my palette. So this is my take on the Coziest Memory blanket, which is a free pattern by Kemper Wray. And oh, my nose, sorry. I have made some serious progress. I have finished 2 rows of my blankie, and there's quite a few differences in my version of this pattern. I am using a 31 stitch square, so 15 and then 1 in the middle and then 15, and I'm doing a centre double decrease, which creates these really beautiful ridges and lines that go through, and I'm really, really happy with how that's coming out. So in the pattern, I think Kemper does a cast on of maybe 48 or something like that, and she doesn't use this decrease method, she uses another one. But I'm really, really happy with my version. I love it so much. And if you're interested in creating your own similar to this, you're welcome to check out my project notes. I've got my notes on there on Ravelry. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with these colours and how they're working together. I'll show you, I'll give you the tour. Just gorgeous. They really remind me of seashells and kind of stormy oceans. And these are the last ones that I just completed just here. So I'm doing 25 squares per round, and that's working out as my arm span. And every time I knit on this, I'm just thinking about our beautiful tiny house that we're going to be building soon. And it makes me feel so much better about all of the crazy work that we're doing right now. And yeah, just makes me feel cozy and happy and excited for the future. And I can imagine this just being on the end of our bed or on our little storage sofa in our tiny house, and makes me very, very happy. So that's my Coziest Memories blanket so far, and my beautiful little stash. And I think that's all of my works in progress. I have got quite a few acquisitions to share with you guys. So, what to share first? Okay, I'll share with this one first. So my amazing dad sent me some gorgeous birthday yarn, and it came very, very early, so I ended up opening it early, which he wasn't happy about. So if you follow me on Instagram, you would have heard the story. But it's all been sorted out, and I am the proud owner of 5 skeins of Dovestone DK in this gorgeous, gorgeous colourway. And I think this is called Gothland is the colour number, the colour name. And if you haven't heard about Dovestone, I've followed them on Instagram for quite a long time. But this yarn it's 100% British, spun and dyed in Yorkshire. And it's a blend of 50% Blueface Leicester, 25% Wensleydale Longwool, and 25% dark brown Masham. This is a hand wash. There's 230 metres per 100 grams. So I've got plenty here for a jumper. And my dad did such a good job of picking this. It's a really stunning purpley tone. It's basically like my purple. And he got me enough for a jumper. And I haven't yet decided which one it's going to be, but I know it's going to be magical. I keep on going back to the Suzie pattern, which is a really beautiful kind of circular yoke slip stitch pattern. Which I've wanted to cast on for quite a long time, so it might well end up being a Suzie, but I'm keeping my options open, and I won't cast on until my birthday because it is birthday yarn. But I'm so happy with my babies. I love them, and it's such a beautiful yarn. It's woolly, but it's incredibly soft at the same time. Like, it has substance to it. I'm so bored of working with Merino, and I realised that the other day. I let myself just accept the fact that I am really bored with working with Merino. And living in Australia, there really are not many options because we are like the hub of Merino. We do incredible superfine Merino, and there are some amazing ethical brands of Merino, which I love. But I've got such a hankering to just try lots of different breeds and just try more rustic yarns. And this just makes me so happy. And my dad had no idea that I'd followed these guys on Instagram or anything like that. He did such a wonderful job of choosing this. He chose an amazing colour and an amazing company and amazing yarn. So I'm very, very happy, and it's going to keep me super cosy. And I really can't decide what I'm going to make. In my head, I kind of almost want a really cocoony cardigan out of it because it's so soft and squishy. And I've got quite a lot of pullovers, or jumpers, as you call in England. But yeah, we shall see what it's going to become. There's 5 of them, so that will give me about 1,200 metres. So if you guys have any ideas of patterns that you think I might like, or that might suit my body shape, then please do let me know. I've got about 1,200 metres of 8-ply wool, so let me know. So that is hidden away from my eyes so I don't cast on anything. And yeah, I'm super duper excited about that project. My next stash acquisition, I've actually got quite a few. I'll go through these ones here. So I took part in Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted this year, which, if you're not on Instagram, is like a hashtag that you can take part in, and you grant other yarny lovers wishes, yarny wishes or pattern wishes, and you can in return ask for your own wishes. And the wonderful Space Frog hand-dyed yarns answered my wishes, and she was just the loveliest lady. And she gave me 2 skeins of this beautiful wool. I've got a really kind of grey purple variegated tone just here, and then this one is very much a blue grey tone, and this one in particular I love so much. It's almost got that kind of jeansy indigo dyed vibe to it, and I would love to design a sock pattern with this one. I actually started a sock design a few days ago now, maybe last week, but it just wasn't cutting the mustard. So it's going to sit and be considered, but I'm super, super happy with these. This is a hand-dyed Australian designer, 75% wool, 25% polyamide, and it's a superwash merino nylon blend. And I can't wait to make socks out of them. Or a shawl, but I think socks. The next stash acquisition that I got was also in the parcel with my West Yorkshire Spinners. I find that so hard to say. West Yorkshire Spinners, there we go. Yarn, and it's 2 skeins of the Imprint Beige Bergère de France. And I'm currently wearing my first pair of socks with the Imprint Beige. And these are my favourite socks that I've ever knit, and I wear them all the time. So I just needed some more for my stash. I don't know when I'm going to use these, but I know they're going to create another beautiful pair of socks. So I'm super excited. And I think with these ones I'll do an all over this colour instead of doing contrasting heels, cuffs and toes. So these were also from Love Knitting. So my last stash acquisition is probably the most exciting of them all. This is a company or a farm that I've wanted to purchase from for a really long time. I don't know how it took me so long, but I picked up 2 150 gram skeins of this amazing squishy Polworth yarn, which is from an awesome original farm here in Victoria called Tandy. You can follow along on their Instagram account. I'll write their Instagram name here, and it's a completely family run farm that's been, I think, 3 generations now that's been breeding these wonderful sheep, and it's an original Australian sheep breed. I can't remember what the mix is, but it's they mixed a merino with another sheep, and so that they would be able to create this beautiful, beautiful yarn. And this just satisfies my want to try new yarns. So I've got these 2 gorgeous, massive skeins of yarn, which I'm thinking that I'm going to design with. I bought them with the intention of creating, I think it's called the Hay, which is a pattern from Lane 3, I think. But I think I'm going to have to purchase some more at some point for that, just because I know I'm not going to cast it on straight away. And I've got this design in my head which I think will just go so beautifully with these. I don't know if I'll end up using 2 for the design. I think 1 would be enough, but we shall see. This yarn is incredibly soft whilst also being woolly. I've never experienced anything like it. It's basically like a merino with substance. It's got a real rustic, beautiful feel to it. It's definitely more woolly than a merino, but it's incredibly squishy. And this is a 4-ply, and it's quite elasticy as well. I don't know if you can see that, but oh my god, I'm so excited to work with this. And this is a natural colour. They come in a really white, which I don't love. I would want to dye that. I wish it came in a grey tone, but it doesn't. And they also had a really beautiful dark brown as well, which I'd like to have a try of at some point. But this yarn is this colour is just gorgeous. So I'm so excited to try these, and I have a feeling they'll become my newest shawl design, my first shawl design. Super, super exciting. So they are just living in there for now. And I think that's everything that I have to share with you guys today. I feel like I've been doing so much making, and it's been making my heart happy. Yeah, I hope you guys are doing well, that you're enjoying your makes, that you're creating some challenging things and also having lots of relaxed knits or crochets or sewings as well. I hope you're inspired and that you're relaxed, and yeah, it's wonderful to chat with you guys. It's wonderful to respond to your comments below, so if you would like to get in touch, please do comment below. You're welcome to also follow me on Instagram. You can follow me at Bex _ in real life, or on at thelittlehome.oz. And yeah, it's been so wonderful to chat with you guys. I hope you have a lovely week, and until next time, happy knitting.